Hi everyone, it is Kate, the Almost Book Doctor, and welcome to my channel. Tonight I'm going to be doing a tier ranking of all of the books that I read in 2021. So this video has been a long time coming. I am going to be reviewing, very short, all of the books that I read last year. I dropped a couple months of wrap-ups and I just have not been able to sit down and do this because of how chaotic my life has been. But here we are on May 2nd, and we're going to go over all of the books that I read last year. So I read 45 books last year, and we're going to see how this goes. I made my own tier categories. I don't know why I'm pointing at things because you see it on the screen. So Yas Queen is the top god tier. Then we have I Stand for This Book. Then we have kind of maybe, but meh. Then we have Dangus. And then we have, but why? Because no. Books that I wish maybe I hadn't actually read. But to be honest, I don't think I had that many. I feel like I do a good job of picking books to read that I'm fairly certain I'm going to like. So I don't really read things that I dislike very often. So we're just going to start. And this isn't really, I don't really know how the tier ranking thing put all the books in order, but we're just going to go for it. So A Curse So Dark and Lonely is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. It's YA. I actually really enjoyed it. I started reading the second book in the series and wasn't really feeling it, so I haven't finished that series yet. But as far as Beauty and the Beast retellings go, like I feel like this was different enough, but also kept with the similarities of the theme that we like to see in Beauty and the Beast retellings. Plus, our main character has cerebral palsy, which I thought was kind of cool, and they don't make it this huge point in the story, which I just really appreciated. I really need to keep this like conversation short because I can talk about these books for so long and then this video will be forever. But I hadn't read YA in a really long time, so I really enjoyed this book. So I'm going to put it in a stand for this book because it was not phenomenal, but it was definitely better than meh. So I really enjoyed myself. Now, to go for another Beauty and the Beast retelling that I did not particularly enjoy, ACOTAR. I'm sorry, dear friends, that I absolutely love Sarah J. Maas. I'm just not that much of a fan. It wasn't like abhorrently terrible. Like obviously I got through the first book and I may be convinced to read the second one, but mostly because I'm just curious about what happens in chapter 55, I think it is, that everyone keeps talking about because it's spice. So I'm going to put this in Dangus because I don't think it was like a waste of page space, but I really did not like it. Next, we have Arm of the Sphinx, which was my favorite Sun on the Suns, and I don't even have to, well, Books of Babel, and I don't even have to think about it. It's going in. Yes, Queen. This book slays. I love this book so much. It was my favorite of the quartet. Oh, Books of Babel, amazing. Next, we have the Atlas 6, which you can't really see because it's there. But I really love the Atlas 6. It was in my top 10 this year. I loved this self-pub book, and then I went on to read another one of her adult self-pub books, Olivia Blake, and it was Alone with You in the Ether, but I read that this year, so I can't count it on this tier list. But that was also fantastic, and I'm so glad that she got picked up by a traditional publisher so that the whole world can read this book. So I loved it. I'm not going to put it in the Yes Queen tier, but I think it's going to be like number one in my I stand for this book. Oh, some of these will be really easy, like An Autumn War, obviously, which does surpass The Arm of the Sphinx for me because An Autumn War is one of the best books I've ever read. Same with Betrayal in Winter, which I have an unpopular opinion that Betrayal in Winter is my favorite book of the series. Do I think it's the best book in the series? No. The best book is definitely An Autumn War, but out of pure enjoyment and love for characters on my part, I love Betrayal in Winter. Best female character I have ever read. Just haven't read LPQ, you need to read LPQ. If you love good, well fleshed out characters, specifically female characters with a lot of agency, I definitely read this series just for that one book. Next, we have Breach of Peace by Daniel Green. And I don't really usually read short stories or novellas, I guess. But I wanted to try it because I had seen his videos about his magic system and I thought that sounded really interesting. But I just was not really feeling Breach of Peace. I found the story interesting. And I have read Rebels Creed, and I was not a huge fan of Rebels Creed either. Yet again, I read that this year. I don't know if I want to put it in a meh or if I want to put it in Dangus. I don't think it's a complete waste of space because it is his first published work. I do think I disliked it more than I liked Akatar though, so I am going to put it in Dangus. I'm sorry, Daniel Green. Now, Before They're Hanged, which is the second book in our First Lodge trilogy by Joe Abercrombie, and I loved the first two books, and then I DNF'd The Last Argument of Kings. For now, I am not giving up on it for forever. I'm probably going to finish it this summer. It was putting me in an angry reading slump, and I just need to move on. But Before They're Hanged was my favorite out of the three. And I just thought it was genius. I loved the questing. I loved the character development, which is part of why I was so angry at the end of this book, and partly why I did not like vibe with The Last Argument of Kings. Like but I do love Before They Are Hanged. And so I'm going to put that in I Stand for This Book, not in front of the Atlas Six, but definitely before Curse So Dark and Lonely. I just like this tier ranking is partially by like how great objectively I think the book is, which is kind of a weird way to say it because rankings and opinions on books are never really truly objective, but also how much I just straight up enjoyed the book. So I love the Atlas Six a little bit more because it was just like a romp and it had the dark academia feels. Before They Are Hanged is definitely very grimdark. I'm kind of a wuss. So while I enjoyed it a lot, it's not really like a feel-good book. So the next is Dark Matter. Dark Matter, I'm sad to say, I'm going to put in like the meh category. I read over the summer during the buddy read on Shelf Space, and I did enjoy this book, but it left me with the feeling of I wanted more from the characters because I think it was a great story. I think that it was fun and the traveling between all of the different, like, I don't want to call them dimensions, but different like worlds of the multiverse sort of thing, like was really cool. And I liked what he did with that. But beyond like one character, we didn't really get a lot of development. We didn't get a lot of depth. And I would have liked to see the depth in this book because I think it would have elevated it and it would be really fantastic if there just had been that like elevated character development. So it's meh. I'm sorry. Next is, the first Dresden Files book on this list. This one is Death Masks. I don't know why you can't see that in this little square. But this one I really enjoyed. However, I listened to it on an audiobook, and so I feel like I didn't really absorb a lot of it. I was trying to see if audiobooks would work for me. I tried a couple times and I thought, well, maybe with, Dresden Files because it's a little more pulpy. It's just like a fun romp. It's like watching an episode of like a crime show with magic. But I just don't feel like the story stuck with me, whereas the ones that I actually physically read definitely did. So I'm gonna put this in kind of maybe meh, but definitely in front of Dark Matter. Not because I didn't like the story, but because I just didn't connect with it. And so later on when I finish all the Dresden Files, I'm gonna do like a ranking of all the books. And I don't think this is going to be a meh one, but I don't feel like I can rank it any higher because I really just don't remember a lot of it. I do remember the very end though, which was, oh. Next is Dragon's Bottom Twilight, which I read with a bunch of my friends on Discord. Evie, Pete, Joanna, like a bunch of us were in on this buddy read. And the nostalgia was there, but man, reading this when you're younger versus reading it now is completely different. I did not enjoy my time reading this book because even though like I have played D&D now since I read that when I was a kid, and so I have that background too, it just felt so formulaic and it felt so cheesy and all the characters were so tropey and like not in a good way anymore. And I recognize that this is like old school like questing D&D type fantasy, but it just isn't for me anymore. Do I want to put it in the bottom one or do I want to put it in Dangus? I got to. It might be the only one that goes down there. And it wasn't like a waste of page space. Like I think young kids would still enjoy Dragon's Bottom Twilight, that whole trilogy. It just was not for me this time. Now we got the Ember Blade, which I loved. It may have taken me a little while because it was supposed to be the September Blade, and then it turned into the December Blade because of school. But I really enjoyed it. I know that Klaus has differing opinions than I do, but I loved the characters in the Ember Blade. Specifically, one character who goes by the name of Grub, who I just love so much. I won't say anything else because I know there's a lot of people who haven't read Ember Blade yet, but it's just so much fun. It has Lord of the Rings inspired stuff. It feels like a quest. You have bards, you have druids, and it doesn't feel like Dungeons and Dragons in a bad way. Like comparing Dragons of Autumn Twilight and the Ember Blade is such an elevated version, and I think they took like the D&D feel but made it so good. Like Chris Wooding, genius. I can't wait for the next one to come out. It's like something coffin. I can't remember. It sounds a little dark, but I'm really looking forward to what comes out next. I'm going to put it in a stand for this book, and I think it goes above the Atlas 6 because I really loved that story. Next is a little different. I have the 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle, which was absolutely 100% like I was not prepared for what this book was. I just thought, oh, it's going to be a locked house mystery. It was going to be great. It was, but then like it's also not. I don't want to say anything else about this book because I thought it was so genius and the twist really got me and I really really liked it. I actually have Stuart Turton's second book, Devil in the Dark Water, but I haven't read it yet. It feels to me kind of like a summer read, so I'm just waiting on it. But I really really enjoyed this. I'm probably gonna put it in. Yeah, I'm gonna put it in a stand, but I'm gonna put it behind Before They're Hanged. Just really fun. Highly recommend. Oh, more Senlin. More Senlin. I love it. Do I want to put it in top tier or not? Now, I am apparently of the opinion that The Fall of Babel, the final book, was wonderful. And I know a lot of people who are fans of the series were like, ugh, why did he do that at the end of the book? But I loved it for very specific reasons that I can't say in this video. It has one of my very favorite tropes that I also can't talk about. So I loved it. I don't, I'm not going to put it in Yas Queen, This Book Slays. I'm going to put it in I Stand for This Book, and I'm going to put it at the front because, will you do the thing? Okay, I got to switch that way. I really enjoyed it, but I don't want to put too many books in like the God tier Yas Queen just because I am a 5-star strumpet. But if I put too many books in that category, then it's like it doesn't really have any meaning. So I do know this is definitely going to be Fireborn. So good. Best YA I have probably ever read. It was so well done. The themes were there, the characters were there, the romance was just enough. And I really liked the fact that it touched on all these difficult topics surrounding like revolution and whether or not the new regime is any better than what was in place, and does it matter if the new regime is doing the same thing that the old one was but for better reasons? Like if you're poor or still starving, does it matter what your reasons are? Probably not. So Fireborn was just so good. The third one is coming out this summer. I'm so, well, actually it might be the fall, but I'm so excited to finish this trilogy. I just the way that she left the second book, which actually Flamefall is next. Oh, so good. I really enjoyed Flamefall. I don't think I enjoyed it as much as Fireborn. So I'm going to put it, oh geez. What am I gonna do? It's gonna be in this row. But where does it go? It's hard to compare YA with adult fantasy sometimes because it just has such different like feels to it. Did I like it more than the Alice 6? Did I like it more? I didn't like it before those, but I did really love it. Next we have Full Moon, which is Jim Butcher, which I'm sorry. Dresden Files. This is just like, I almost DNF'd this book. It has to go in the because why section. I have in the Dresden Files video that I made going over the first 4 books, I talk about why I do not like this book. I just think that he tried to do too much in this one and that it just was kind of a jumbled mess for me. And I just didn't vibe with this one. Next we have now this book, Friends with Benedict, was a joke, a Discord joke that I ended up taking too far because I actually read this book. And there's a quote about ovaries frying like eggs on the sidewalk when our main character sees this like sexy man from her past. I don't remember it off the top of my head, but I will put it in this video. I will put it down below so you can see the ridiculousness of this quote because it's just absolutely bonkers. Just bonkers. It was like kind of fun, but also absolutely ridiculous. So was it about why? Because no, it's definitely Dangus. I actually think I kind of enjoyed it more than Breach of Peace. So I will put it there. Golden Sun, easy peasy. Oh, where does it go? It goes here. Golden Sun, second book in the Red Rising trilogy. I probably should have put this in some sort of order, but I just didn't bother. Golden Sun was my favorite of the trilogy. It was action-packed. It was like half watching a Michael Bay movie and half reading this awesome like rebellion story. There were scenes. There's a dinner party in this book that is just chef's kiss. Loved it. So entertaining. And there's like this awesome political stuff going on that he weaves so well into all the battle scenes. I love this. I love the character relationships. So good. All right, next we have Grave Peril, another Dresden Files book, which I actually really enjoyed. Grave Peril is probably my favorite so far. I love Michael. He is my favorite character. I love him so much. And this book is like where you really start to see him shine. So I am going to put it probably, I don't like this thing. There, in between Flamefall and 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. I really, really enjoyed it. I loved it. I thought he had a good premise and it was such a step up from Full Moon that just like, loved it. Excuse my glare from my ring light. Pratchett, Guards. This was the second Pratchett book that I have ever read. And I thought it was hilarious. I loved it. I don't know if I love it as much as more, just because I think I love the character of Death so much that I'm going to really, really enjoy like the Death arc that is in Discworld. Where am I going to put this though? It's the question. Because absurd fantasy is not usually like my thing. So, did I? I'm going to put it here, but like, because I have no real like other place to put it, I think this category is starting to be a little difficult to rank. If I really were to put it in a spot, I'd probably put it in the same level as like 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle, but I can't really do that. It doesn't let you do that on here. Hod King, Yas Queen. So good. Second favorite book in the series. Just loved it. Am I gonna put it? Did I love? No, I'm gonna put it. Did I like it more than Golden Sun? Yes, I did. All right, Iron Gold, which is the first and the second trilogy of the Red Rising series. This one was hard. I'm gonna put it in kind of maybe meh because I'm gonna put it before Death Masks though. It was just a lot of setup. I feel like there's a lot of bringing in new characters and new points of view to get the rest of the series set up. And so while it was good, it was not the same like type of action-packed adventure as the first trilogy was, but I still have Dark Age to read, which I'm also waiting for the summer for, because I just need to like be out in the sunshine reading these books, because that's how I read the first 3. But I also wanted to wait until like we got a release date or some more news about the last book, because I didn't want to end on a cliffhanger, you know. Jade City, fantastic. Still need to read Jade War and Jade Legacy. I just haven't had the time to slot it in. I am really looking forward to finishing this trilogy. I really liked Jade City. I'm probably gonna put it, and yeah, I'm probably gonna put her over at her. Yeah, Jade City was great, just fantastic. Morning Star, which is the last in the first Red Rising trilogy. Really enjoyed Morning Star, but there was like a thing that happened at the end which just kind of made me upset. It was like a writing style choice that I just didn't vibe with, and so kind of left a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth. All in all, I still loved it. The beginning of this book is so jarring, and I think it works really well. I love that some of my favorite characters, the way that they work in this book is so good. I can't say who they are, because if you haven't read it, it like really spoils things for the first 2 books. Where's it gonna go though? Probably, where are you going? Probably here. Yeah, probably there. I stand for this book. See, I'm a strumpet. I like so many things. Okay, Mort. Mort was great. Mort is going to go right in front of the, there we go, another Pratchett book. Love it. It was really short. I kind of wish we got a little bit more, but I love death. And the scene with the kittens is just, it's just so precious, and it made me tear up a little bit. So Peril of the Sower. This book is so good. I read this as a buddy read on Greg's Discord, and it was like the conversations we had about this book, just, it was so good. It is one of like the big dystopian novels that I hadn't read yet, and Octavia Butler's writing is fantastic, and she is so brutal in this book, but not in like an overtly horrible way. She made this world and it's harsh, and she just puts it out there, and the horrible things happen so fast, and then you just move on, because that's what you have to do in the world that she created, which is a futuristic version of our world. So where am I gonna put it? It's so different than the other fantasies I've read. I think it's got to go. Did I like it more than Jade City? It was a lot more thought-provoking than Jade City. Oh, where do I want to put it? I don't think I'd say that it slays, just because like it made my heart hurt. Like I feel like it deserves to go in front of the Atlas 6 because of like the material that it, yeah, I'm gonna put it above. Yeah, I got to. It was so good, guys. If you haven't read Octavia Butler, like check out Peril of the Sower and check out Kindred, which I read a couple years ago, and it's just, oh, it's so fantastic. All right, we got The Price of Spring. Yeah, it's just gonna, I don't even talk about it. Conclusion of the Long Price Quartet, perfection, heartbreaking, just oh, so good. The payoff in this series is incredible, and the consequences of your act is just so good. Okay, Red Rising. We got the first book in the series, and I really enjoyed it. I definitely enjoyed it more than Morning Star. Probably also Flamefall. It was just so energetic and just so fun. It was like Hunger Games in space, and I loved it. It had this really cool thing where it was both sci-fi and fantasy, but not super mixed. It was like mostly sci-fi, and then here's this one part that we're going to make feel fantasy, even though it's not really fantasy, which is just so cool. Right, Red Sister was great. It was on my top 10 for last year. Kick-ass Nuns. I mean, I don't know what else I need to say about it. Probably put it, yeah, I'm gonna like look at this at the end and see like if I like how it is, and I might switch some things around. Okay, now we're getting into some more YA. I have Leigh Bardugo, so we'll do Siege and Storm first. This is the second book in the like Grisha trilogy with like Alina and the Darkling and all that, which was a fun romp, but does not deserve to go on the stand for this. I think it's going to be here between Dark Matter and Death Masks. And then same with Ruin and Rising. Actually, I might have to put Ruin and Rising in Dingus because I just wasn't a huge fan of the ending of this series. Like, I like it in some ways. I just didn't like the ending and what they did. Like, I thought that it was kind of cheap. So, yeah, I think I'm going to put it in Dingus. I really liked the first two. So, hopefully, the TV show does the ending of the series justice. Senlin Ascends, so good. I'm going to put it in a stand for this. It's going to be in front of Fall of Babel, though. It's going to be at the front of that, just because it's not like God tier like the middle two are. But I really, really enjoyed it. It's just such a fun, whimsical entrance into this world and just, oh, so good. Now, Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, heart-wrenching, amazing. I'm going to put it in the book Slaves. I could not, it was so compelling. I couldn't stop reading it. I cried like a baby a couple times. It was so good. I loved it. Shadow and Summer. I loved this. I loved it. I know a lot of people don't love the first book, but it's still going to go in this book Slaves because they're so good, because Seedless, because of Seedless. That's all I can say. If you've read Long Price, you understand. You understand. Skyward by Sanderson. I love Skyward. Skyward was so fun. I love the Doom Slugs. I love Mbot. I love how ridiculous Spensa is. Like, some of the things that come out of her mouth are just absolutely absurd. And I feel like Brando Sando had to have had such a fun time writing this. I have the other two. I'm going to read them. It's on my list. I just have other books that are higher up on the list right now. So where am I going to put this? It's definitely better than a kind of maybe meh. But is it better? No. Yeah, it's going to go here. Yeah. I mean, I really enjoyed it. All of these books in this I stand for this book category are fantastic books. So I kind of feel guilty putting a Sanderson book at the end of it, but also like not really. Summer Night, fantastic Dresden Files book. This is the fourth one. I'm going to put it right behind Grave Peril, I think. Then The Blade itself, which is also fantastic. It was really slow because it has like this much plot in the entire book, but I love the setup, love Logan Nine Fingers. I think it is essential reading for fantasy fans. I'm gonna probably put it, I'm gonna switch it. It's gonna go in front of Morningstar. Yeah, I definitely didn't like it as much as Before They Are Hanged, but it was a very good first installment. I'm getting down to the wire here. So the Black Coast. Black Coast was fantastic. Dragons and not dragons, because some of them don't have wings. It was really fun. I liked the ideas that it presented, where you have this like, we have these like Viking raiders who come to shore to the keeps that they used to pillage, because now they're being persecuted by another group of people and they're asking for sanctuary basically. And so it's this really cool like political contrast, and there's a lot of nifty things that Mike Brooks does with like gender and with speech and with the dragons. It's like Galapagos Islands sort of like breeding and genetic stuff, which is kind of cool. Not like actual genetics, but like the idea of like breeding different types of dragons and stuff. So I really enjoyed that. I'm definitely going to put it in a stand for this book. Where do I want it though? That's the thing. This is the hard part. I think it has to go here. Yeah, it has to go there. Yeah. Okay, an Unkindness of Magicians, which was really interesting. Do I stand for this? I'm gonna put it at the front here. It's a YA book that I know not a lot of people have read, and it's a standalone, and it's just very unique. And it's about like a magical competition, but basically like there are a bunch of like houses of magicians that live in and around New York City, and there's this like competition, like the last person standing, there's to who has the most power in their like social and political circles. And I thought it was done really, really well. I don't know. Do I want it in kind of maybe meh? It wasn't. I want a second one. And she says she's working on a second one. I'm going to put it up here. I changed my mind. I changed my mind. I did really enjoy this. I thought it was unique and I liked the character development. I wish there was more, though. In the same vein as I wish there was more development in dark matter with our characters, it's kind of how I felt in the Unkindness of Magicians, because there was so much more she could have delved into, especially with our main character and then also with this world building aspect that she made. So I'm hoping that in the second one she goes and like explores that more. Next is Verity, which was a mind fuck. Like mind fuck. This is my first Colleen Hoover book I ever read. I read it in like, I don't even know, like less than 48 hours. I just like loved it. And at the end, my brain exploded. It was hard to read at some parts. I don't know if I'm like a Colleen Hoover stan, but I really did enjoy it. But I am going to put it at the back of the I stand for this book just because I should have made another category that wasn't like kind of maybe meh, but in between I stand for this and then meh. It was good, but it also was just like kind of pulpy. You know what? Yeah, I'm going to put it here. I'm going to put it here. See, I have terrible like making decisions. All right, Vinlan Saga, which was fantastic. Just like manga, read it. If you haven't, just do it. It's hard to compare manga though with other books. It's definitely not kind of maybe meh. I think I'm gonna put it there. The second one was good too, but not as good. So I'm gonna put it at the back. I just really loved this first installment. I have the third one, gotta read it. I think I'm just gonna plow through them, but manga's expensive, so it probably will take some time. The last two books are Shauna McGuire books. They are part of the Wayward Children series. And you know how much I love the series. I love it so much. One of my favorites. And new books come out every January. So it's like, happy birthday to me. Come Tumbling Down was awesome. It was the conclusion of Jack and Jill's saga. If you've read any of the books, and it was just really good. I love the world that they go to in this story. It's a very harsh world. And part of this series and part of the idea of there being these worlds, and when children come back, they need rehabilitation or assistance and like coming back and relating to people again and being in our reality, is because some of these worlds are not fairy tales, and this world is not a fairy tale, and I loved it. But this definitely is I stan. It's not my favorite, but I do stand for it. Where am I gonna put it? It wasn't my most favorite. I like it more than Skyward. No, I definitely did. I'm gonna put it here behind Morningstar. Yeah. And then Across the Green Grass Fields, I hate to say it, but it has to be in my kind of meh category because the ending just wasn't what I wanted at all. I just could not do it. And I felt like they built up to this thing and then it was like, here it is. This is not what you expected. This falls flat of what you expected. And we're also only going to talk about it for 5 pages and then it's going to be over. I'm just like, what? How do you make a world filled with all different types of horses boring? But somehow she managed to do it, which made me sad. I'm actually going to probably move it down a little bit. Probably, yeah, there. It's just really sad. So let me take a brief look and see if I want to move anything around. I'm going to leave my decisions because I made them and I must stand by what I said. So all of my yes queen, this book slays. I'm feeling confident with all of that. Yeah. As you can tell, really loved LPQ. This was a good year for reading. I honestly like this is the most books I've read in probably 6 years. I was really thankful that I found BookTube at the beginning of last year because January-ish, no, December-ish was when I kind of found it and started being involved watching videos. And then it wasn't until like end of January, early February where I started getting involved on Discord. So I'm ready to see if I can read more this year than I did last year. I really wanted to hit that 52 book mark and I just fell short because of school, which is understandable. So I'm going to try my best this year, but yeah. Thank you for watching my definitive / not so definitive list of books that I read last year. Let's see if there's anything behind that. No, there's not. So Yeah, let me know what you thought. If you have any opinions on my top list, if you have any opinions on my bottom of the list, I would love to hear from you. So thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment. I would be ever so grateful, and I hope you all have a wonderful evening. Bye.